Daniel,
Bennett,
how's it going?
I'm actually kind of stressed today.
That's nice. So what else is going on?
Well, I think I'll tell you about being stressed before you just turn to something else.
Okay.
It's actually not a good story now that I think about it, but I woke up feeling stressed, and it's kind of a conglomeration of a lot of things, so I can't articulate exactly what it is. And that's annoying to me as like a logical being who wants to be able to identify. I mean, I have reasons. It's work-related reasons. I'm juggling various projects and I'm doing so many different things, and then they're all okay. Like nothing's a disaster, but nothing's kick-ass. And that sort of that bugs me because I'm giving my all, and my all is producing a lot of mediocre things. Where I'd prefer to focus my energies to far less and kick ass in them. So that's where I'm at, and that takes a toll emotionally, and just makes me slightly frustrated consistently, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, we've talked a lot before about, well, I mean, I'm a completionist, and we talk about that usually when we talk about video games, but really that applies in almost every realm. And so if I have a lot of things going on and I have to divert my attention between them, and I can't focus on one thing and finish it, then that stresses me out too. I definitely prefer to pick a task, focus on it, and then finish it to a high degree of quality and then move on.
So you're saying there's a strong relationship between your completionist tendencies and perfectionism?
Well, see, that's the thing. Whenever people ask me if I'm a perfectionist, or even when I just think about it,
or even say the word, which you obviously can't. So
that's right, exactly. I can't say
some
it perfectly.
perfectionist you are.
I can't say it perfectly at all. Whenever I think about that, I can never decide whether I'm a perfectionist or not.
But isn't that hilarious? Is that not the perfectionist tendency to want to answer that question perfectly? And you're like, I don't even know, because the thing is, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. And if I don't have a perfect understanding of what you mean by perfectionist, I'm uncomfortable answering this question perfectly. I mean, that's like richly ironic to me.
That's kind of funny if you think about it that way. I'll give you that. But let me continue anyway and justify why I'm not sure. That's because, well, it depends on whose standards we're judging perfection by. Generally, the way I do things is I do things until they meet my standards, and I stop a lot of things when there are still flaws present, and when I realize, I could continue and do more work and make this better. But I stop anyway because, well, it meets my standards. It does what it needs to do. So really, I think I'm more pragmatic than I am perfectionist. And this may sound slightly arrogant, but I think most of the time my standards tend to be higher than other people's standards. So in practice, what this means is, for when I was in school or even doing work, when I think, this is good enough, when I turn that thing in, people go, wow, this really exceeded our expectations. And they say, wow, you must really be a perfectionist to have done this. And I think, well...
Or perhaps when you're in group work or something like that, they're saying, we're kind of done. And you're saying, no, like, this isn't to my standards. And so you continue to work, and they go, Bennett's such a perfectionist. But really, you just have reasonable and high standards. You can have, I think it's possible to have high standards that are totally, totally reasonable. And that's what you're saying.
I think so. And that's why I tend to say I'm not a perfectionist. But, maybe you're dead on the money with your, me hemming and hawing about perfectionism means I'm a perfectionist.
Dead on the money. I nailed the money on the head.
Nailed the nail on the head.
Yep, nailed it. Yeah, well, one man's perfectionism is another man's, it's just another man's garbage. So
that's right. That is what they say, I think.
One man's treasure is another man's perfectionism. Yeah. So
I heard that you have something to show me.
That is true. I wanted to try out a new little segment we could call it a number of things, but I like this Bennett Tries Trending because I'm
going to get very popular?
You're going to get very popular. No, the idea is I think you've admitted to yourself and to me that you're not the most knowledgeable when it comes to popular trends, when it comes to hip things, when it comes to what the kids are saying and doing these days. And not just kids, but just hipsters and, I don't know, insert anything that's very topical. Would that be fair to say about you?
Absolutely not. I am really lit with the lingo.
You're so lit with the lingo.
I mean, I think it's very raw.
And you're just saying that because I told you the word raw like a week ago. So with that in mind, I've toyed with various ideas of either taking popular culture trends or even niche trends and just seeing, okay, so society is endorsing these sorts of values, or this is the sort of musical taste of the day, or just really anything, and then getting kind of an organic response from you and seeing what you think of that.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
So, with the first thing I've collected, I'm not going to argue that it's a mega popular trend, but it's one of these sort of organic, you want to say the word herbal, but that's not right. Just
I've heard of organic things.
Yeah, organic things seem to be very hip, and health conscious stuff, like these health trends that seem a little off the wall or oddball that celebrities will come out and endorse, or
like
a couple
vitamins.
of them, not just vitamins, but different workout routines and or some sort of mindfulness practices and that sort of thing. Yeah,
I can save you a lot of trouble. I've already heard of all of these things: vitamins, exercise. Heard of this stuff. This is going to be a boring segment.
Right. So I'm assuming you've heard of the Yoni Egg.
The what?
The Yoni.
Is that a musician?
The Yoni Egg. Actually, Yoni, I believe, is some sort of Italian string instrument player. But that's just me pulling from. Am I right?
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that name as a musician.
Yeah.
Or something.
But I can't even speak to that. So
this is some kind of egg.
Yeah, what do you think the Yoni Egg is, me just saying that?
The Yoni Egg.
And I've given you some context clues that it has to do with the health movement.
Yeah, something with health. I mean, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I can only conclude that, this musician has bred a new species of chicken and is selling the egg, and it's extra healthy for some reason. And maybe, I got it.
Eggs.
When the chickens are roosting, he plays soothing Italian string music to them, and it makes the eggs like just extra nutritious.
Close.
All right. Well, nailed that one.
It's actually a crystal or stone egg-shaped device that you insert into your vagina.
Wait a second! I can't even use this. I can't even get healthy this way.
Well, a potential partner could get healthy this way, in which you insert and then hold it in all day, or for hours, or you build up. I don't think you'd be able to. It's basically vagina weightlifting.
What the hell?
But then
the Yoni Egg.
Yes,
that's not. So it doesn't have anything to do with the musician.
No, nothing to do with the musician.
God, I bet Yoni is just not very pleased about this development.
Well, the clip I want to show you is
Can I even watch this? Is this?
They don't show the insertion or anything like that. It's about these two people that they have a video subscriptions or a channel on YouTube in which they try these peculiar trends, and these two people are very unusual. I don't know much about them, but their channel's called Upgraded, and they try out these trends. So they go to a Yoni Egg specialist or two girls that will talk about the effects, and it's about 12 minutes long. So
You just swing by the old Yoni Egg store. They're in the mall, and you see the Apple store, and it's like white and gray, and with just the big glass window in the front. And then the next one is the Yoni Egg store, and it's just crystal front door and everything with all of these eggs inside. I mean,
yes, between the Apple store.
How big
and the
are these things? Are these like the size of golf balls or like ostrich eggs? Or
I would say
is
like
it the stronger the stronger your vagina gets, you like ramp up the egg size?
But no, to a more dense version, it's a lot heavier. I'm making that up. I don't know. But the idea, well, I'll let the video speak for itself, and then we can unpack.
All right. So what we can do is we can record our reactions watching the video, and then we'll put them in here so everyone can listen to how we reacted as we were watching the video for the first time. So here it goes.
It's a very peculiar group.
This is weird already.
Yeah, no, the whole thing's really weird. Oh, like unbearably weird. I don't know if you'll make it all the way through.
He sounds kind of like you.
No, he doesn't.
The candle thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, his actions.
It's a cool necklace. Yoni Egg. See, I was right.
A Greek keyboardist.
I'm a big fan of the Greek keyboardists.
Yoni. Look at it. Do you see the Yoni eggs?
Yeah. I think I get a lot of those on Halloween and Easter. What happens if it hatches in there? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Wait, what state did they say these people are in?
I think it was in California.
Oh, I could have never guessed. Oh, they have an egg inside
Probably.
of their vaginas? Probably. How many eggs do you think they have if they're like the supreme egg holders?
She might ask how many deep it. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
What would you describe your relationship with your vagina as? What kind of question is that? Are you kidding me? Shoving a smooth egg up your vagina is disempowerment of females? Good story. Great story. Wonderful story. That was entertaining. This is so slow. Hurry up. Show me the vagina. Just show me the vagina already.
I don't think you're going to get that.
It's really small.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
That doesn't seem like it would do anything.
But I mean, I guess you're holding it in while walking around and stuff. I don't know how different that is. Like, you know what I mean?
I hold in turds a lot bigger than that.
But in your vagina, though? Like,
I bet he gives it a try next.
Well, all right.
Yeah, well.
Thoughts, Bennett?
I didn't like it.
Did you not like the product or the video or what?
All right, I didn't like the video. Let me see if I can actually put my thoughts into words. So product-wise, I don't really have other than like it's a silly product that's not very important. I don't have any problem with it. I mean, physiologically speaking, it makes sense.
So it's not entirely hippie. It's not like a bullshit pill that's gonna make you smarter. Like that's crap. Whereas this has some validity. Is that what I'm hearing you say? That like you're not particularly interested, but there is some validity that's beyond.
It makes
salesmanship.
It makes sense, right? You put something up there and you have to hold it up there or manipulate or move it. I mean, you are essentially working out muscles. So the stuff that those hippie women said, I mean, there's some validity to that, and that makes sense. So
right.
you know, fine. That's fine. I mean, there are, like, I think I saw some, you know, as seen on TV thing, this weird contraption you stick underneath your chin and you open your mouth and go like that, and it's supposed to get rid of your chin flab.
Really? I have not seen that. But that's so. But it theoretically,
and this
could
seems
work.
like a similar category of product. You know, just like, well, I mean, some of your muscles are more easy to exercise than others.
Right.
And so, I mean, from that sense, it, you know, I understand it, and it makes sense, and it might even work. So that's my positive take on it. As far as the video is concerned, I thought it was weird and pretty not funny. I like the 80s vibe, just aesthetically.
But the sense of humor was completely bizarre and very, I mean, it...
Yeah, well, you mentioned near the start of it that it felt kind of like Tim and Eric a little bit, and I see where you're coming from, but it wasn't funny is the thing. Well, like, they didn't capitalize on the absurdity and the you know, the quick cuts and stuff like Tim and Eric do sometimes.
In fact, it's hard to tell how serious they actually are. Like, is this what Tim and Eric are making fun of?
Right. I couldn't tell whether... Oh, because, I mean, when you watch a Tim and Eric video, it's obvious that they're intentionally being absurd and weird. Mm-hmm. But this, they were being absurd and weird, but it wasn't absurd enough or weird enough to really make you think that these people don't actually behave that way.
It walked the line and seemed informative enough to be confusing on how much of this is humor and how much of this is informative.
Right. Yeah, maybe they're just too subtle for me, you know.
The nuanced humor was over your head.
Yeah, I'm not nuanced enough. My sense of humor just isn't fine-tuned enough to understand the vagina rock egg, Greek keyboardist egg that you put inside yourself.
So, I just looked up how much a Yoni or Yoni egg costs.
If it costs more than $10, then it's a scam.
It is $66.
Wow! So it's more than 6 scams.
Is that entirely outrageous to charge $66 for these?
Yeah, I used to make Yoni eggs in my parents' house when I was a kid with a rock tumbler.
But it can't just be any rock. It's got to be like a jade stone or something.
Whatever.
Like that, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm buying that.
It's just got to be able to be sterilized. Is all they were saying, and I'm sure there are plenty of rocks you can sterilize.
Agreed.
Yeah, man. If only. I've always asked myself what I would do if I had a time machine, and now I know I could go back and talk to 8-year-old Bennett and say, 8-year-old Bennett, get out that rock tumbler and make some eggs to stuff up. 8-year-old Bennett would be like, what?
What? Why? Leave me alone. And why is this the thing you're telling me? Oh, it's so strange.
I don't have time to explain.
You're gonna call them Yoni eggs, and you're gonna charge $66 a piece. You're gonna be rich.
$66 a piece. Start sitting Indian style now.
How could you extend this product to males? Your urethra stone. I don't know. It's just not. It's just.
Well, there's just not really much purpose, is there?
No, not at all.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to go there.
I don't either. I'm already questioning how sensitive this topic is to what we're trying to accomplish or not. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
me too.
We've kept it suitably rated, I suppose.
Yeah. So.
Oh man. All right, what next?
Oh, well, last time you did the superpowers and the super, and I really want to do that again because I really enjoyed it.
Oh, you want to do it again?
Is that possible?
Oh yeah, sure. I have some. I can pull those up. Before I should have done this at the very beginning, but before we get started, with that, I do have one correction to make to something that I said last time.
Okay.
Real quick, like we were talking about scientific advances, and I said we were talking about X-rays in particular, and I talked about Marie Curie. And I don't know, I guess I just got it confused. Marie Curie dealt with radioactivity, not X-rays.
Okay.
William Röntgen was the X-ray guy.
Well, I will certainly sleep better knowing
confused.
that. So
I know you were probably just under your breath cursing me for messing that up.
Well, I thought you made us all look like fools. So I'm glad we could clear that up, and now it's just you owning. I was not going to call you out. Obviously, I knew the mistake, but I thought how unacceptable it would be to call you out in front of everybody like that.
Well, thanks.
So, you're
thanks
welcome.
for that.
I was
You're
being
very
considerate.
magnanimous.
Yes, magnanimous. Yes,
very magnanimous of you.
I'm all of those things. So,
all right, so you want to do another superpower doohickey thing?
I do, because if you could refresh our audience's memory or refresh my memory, I am choosing. Go ahead.
So I've got a big list of superpowers and drawbacks. This is something that I'm sure a lot of people have done before, where they do either or. Would you rather fly or be invisible or whatever? And usually they pick really great superpowers to decide between. But I think it's kind of more interesting to do really lame, low quality superpowers. And I don't know, I think it makes for better discussion. And then to kind of keep things interesting, the way this is I present you with 2 superpowers and 2 drawbacks, and you have to pick 1 superpower and 1 drawback, or decide to just walk away.
Got it.
So if you want either of the 2 superpowers, you have to decide on a drawback that you also get.
Cool. Let me ask you this.
The
was this born of the idea, I recall you used to joke around when you would fog up windows, when you would sit close, or in a car, you just inevitably, your window would be fogged up. Even your parents would be frustrated at you. And you joked around about how it was like your lame superpower, and how and then kind of theorized we all have some stupid, lame superpower. And then kind of discovering what yours is could take a lifetime. You could do it. I don't know. It's just a funny thought that we have something lame, and yours happens to be fogging up windows a little too easily. And
that's pretty much where this originated. So yeah, that's my superpower. Is I'm really prone to fogging up windows.
So you have that's your plus, and your minus is you're bad at estimating condensation evaporation time.
Yeah, how long water takes to evaporate. I'm really bad at that.
That's your one flaw. Would you say that's one of your biggest flaws?
Yeah, I would say that's my only flaw.
It's the only one. Yeah. Well, I am.
And,
I'm average at it.
and
So, yeah. And I know exactly how good the average person is at predicting water evaporation.
How long it takes for water to evaporate. Right. Well, see, the thing is, I'm sure... I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you probably have a toilet in your apartment, right?
Yeah, of course.
And what is it? Well, I mean, there's water inside that thing.
Yes.
And it's always in there.
Yes.
It never evaporates.
Right. But, I mean, when you flush it, fills back up. So, clearly there's something keeping it at a particular level, right? Or is it only when you flush it lets it back in, right?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I mean, the oceans are still around. And they've been around for like 100 years or more.
Clearly,
and they haven't evaporated.
We're having many different.
So
they do evaporate. They just fall back to themselves.
Listen. If water was evaporating at this huge rate, then where is all of the water out in space?
Well, I'm not the scientist of the group between the two of us, but I'm pretty sure. That's what I ought to do next time. Is that should be another segment? Is Daniel does science? Yeah, like that. Daniel does science, and really, it'll be interesting to see, because I'm a logical enough person. I'm not an idiot, but my science knowledge is really bad. You could trick me on something fairly simple. Anything that's a little bit counterintuitive, or some simple math trick, those sorts of things, I think the average person would probably fall for. I'd be susceptible to it too. Okay, I'm ready for the trick. I am interested. And oh, real quick before we begin, how if you were to take a glass of water the size of we'll say those plastic wax covered cups from the dentist to rinse or do mouthwash or something like.
I don't. How big are those?
Maybe like 3 ounces.
How big compared to a shot glass?
Probably like triple the size.
Triple the size of a shot glass?
Yeah. Does that seem?
So we're talking like one of the little cups, the little cone-shaped cups that you get water out of.
We'll just say that. That's more universal. We can all picture the cone-shaped cup. And now because they don't lay over because they're cone-shaped, we have it suspended in the air or sitting nicely in some holder. How long does that? And assuming the wax is strong enough to hold the water.
Yeah, there's nothing leaking through the cup.
Right. How long does that
it take to evaporate? Well, all right. So I joke about being bad at this,
right.
But if you really ask me to figure it out, then I am an engineer and I could probably figure it out.
What's your knee-jerk reaction? Does this take a year? No. Does this take a week?
Is this probably anywhere between 4 and 12 years? No, I don't. All right, knee-jerk reaction would be really bad. But like the real answer, the engineering answer is it depends. It depends on the ambient humidity and temperature. It depends on the surface area of water presented. It depends on if there's any motion in the air. Like that's actually why I'm bad at figuring out how long it takes for water to evaporate, because there's a lot of variables that determine how long it takes. Mm-hmm. And so, if you spilt some water on your counter in Florida, and then someone else spilt some water on their counter in Arizona.
I was going to use Arizona. Weird. I was going to give that example, but anyway, go ahead.
Then it would probably be a pretty wildly different time.
You think so? It'd be drastic. One could be a day, and one could be a week. I mean, are we talking?
Well, maybe not that drastic. It depends. Spilling water, it's not going to be a day, it's not going to be a week.
Could be if there's a lot of water. If it's on like a tile thing, it's all standing there. It's not like being absorbed.
It's not going to be there a week, I don't think. It's not going to be there.
How do you know? You're really bad at it.
Okay. I am bad at it.
On that note, let's get to the bad or the superhero and the small superhero.
All right, the superpowers and drawbacks.
Yes.
All right, so I didn't prepare specific ones, but on my list I have them in order.
Okay.
Last time I made you choose between 2 rank 1 superpowers and 2 rank 1 drawbacks.
Okay.
This time I'm going to do rank 2.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm just going to go straight from the list. So, superpowers, stoplights, traffic lights, if red, will always turn green just as you arrive.
I really like that. Really like that. As I arrive, I'm still going to have to, if it's really backed up, it's going to turn green until I pass through, correct?
Yeah, it's like if there's a long line of cars at the red light, as soon as you pull up to the last car in line, they start moving. So it's not even that the light turns green as you arrive, it's that you never have to come to a complete stop because of a stoplight. That's even
better. Yeah. Okay. So never dealing with traffic is essentially another way of framing it. You're just giving me a logical
due to a traffic light.
So stop signs maybe. But,
stop signs, and wrecks and general congestion and jaywalkers, all of those things you're still going to have to deal with.
Okay. That's pretty awesome.
Pretty good. Rank 2 though.
It's pretty low on 2. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what you have for the other stuff.
All right. The other one that you can choose from is every second that you scream as loudly as you can, you burn 1 calorie.
That's a superpower?
Yes. It's a good weight loss strategy.
1 calorie?
1 calorie.
It seems like a lot of yelling. If you wanted to, burn 500 calories. Wait, what's a good workout? What do you lose in a good workout?
I don't know. Well, if you
go play tennis for an hour and a half and you're drenched when you're done, have you burned 400 calories?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay.
I mean, if you when you go jogging, you burn probably 500 calories, maybe 300 to 500 calories.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Something like that.
I mean, I like that this is a creative and like thought-provoking one, but I'm so not drawn to a 1 calorie for a 1 second sweep. Like, I don't find this, like, there's a discrepancy between like, oh man, like, no traffic lights. This is awesome. And then, I can scream as loud as I can, which I'm pretty uncomfortable doing. Because when I scream, I can bellow. Like, I truly can bellow. So I'm thinking, well, I'm certainly not comfortable in my like home setting because I live in an apartment. I would just never do that. At school, I'd never do that. I'm almost never in. Anyway, interesting but not appealing to me. And is it possibly true, by the way, that yelling as loud as you can for 1 second might burn a calorie?
Probably not.
Is that even a superpower, or is that just true?
I mean, it does burn. I mean, surely it does burn some energy. I mean, but basically yelling really loud is just using your diaphragm, not even all that much stronger than usual.
I guess I was picturing like neck strained and veins and that's just gonna, that sort of intense moment is gonna just.
Well, 1 second is pretty quick to burn a calorie.
So I mean, I could give an average yell, just a I mean, there, that's like 3 calories.
See, I didn't read these again through before this podcast this time, so. Thinking about it now, that seems more like a 1 than a 2.
I think so, but I mean, I'm not going to pick on your ranking system. So let's just say those are the 2. Okay.
All right. Well, I do have another 2.
Maybe so
on the list already.
Maybe so, because I'm just not going to. I'm not even. That's a throwaway for me.
I feel I don't. All right. You know what? It should be fine. I don't want to break the soul of the superpowers and drawbacks, but I think that even I agree. Reading back through it, that one is probably not quite at the same level as the other one. All right, so this one seems a little more appropriate. I think you'll like it a little better. All right, so when cleaning, you never have to scrub or even hit every spot on the surface you're cleaning. So 1 swipe is enough to completely clean or apply anything. So if you're applying wax, you could just 1 swipe and it's already all applied. Brushing your teeth, just 1 quick swipe once over your teeth.
That
washing your car,
hygiene,
super trivial. Yeah, whenever you're cleaning anything, you don't have to scrub. So just, and it's almost like it's a commercial.
So even the hair, all the hairs around my sink after shaving and stuff.
Just 1 swipe, whoop, and they're all gone.
And they're all.
Yeah, did you not hear me?
Yeah, well, the sound clearly it makes it so obvious. The dirt, does this? Let's say you're using a sponge to clean your tub or something. Does all the grime just like normal wear and tear to your cleaning supplies? I'd say
normal.
I guess so. I do the 1 wipe and all the dirt's on.
Does the sponge mess up?
Yeah.
Well, if you then took another sponge and swiped the first sponge, it would clean it.
But it would go all to that other sponge, just transfer perfectly.
So, yeah, the superpower probably breaks the conservation of mass in some way. Yes, so all that dirt and grime doesn't necessarily get conserved. But the point is, you clean things a lot more effectively.
I love that. A lot. Does this include if I'm shaving? Is it a 1-pass shave, or is that not cleaning?
That's not cleaning.
Okay, just making sure that's not cleaning.
I mean, from a certain point of view, I guess you could say that it's cleaning hair off your face, but I'm not considering that.
No, I agree. What if something's like requires pressure washing typically, but I just run a toothbrush along the concrete, like
it works.
It works. So
yeah, that works. That cleans it. Now, if you're trying to clean your driveway and you choose a toothbrush and you just do, you kind of like bend over and scrub the toothbrush on the concrete as you walk from your door to the road, that's not going to clean the whole thing.
No, but if I took a broom, would the sweeping, or would it like clean it magically?
Every sweep would just whoosh, whoosh, clean off all of that
stuff. All the dirt and grime that's been there for years would just...
Yeah, that's the power.
Man, okay. I really like those 2 a lot.
All right,
so that's competitive.
Good. I'm glad those are competitive at least.
And I'm a clean freak, as you know. So.
Right, but it's not over. In order to get one of those, you have to take one of these 2 drawbacks, and there are only 2 of these ranked 2 that I have right now. So, all right, the first one, it takes your body longer to wake up than your mind. So when you get up in the morning, your limbs will be asleep and all tingly and pins and needles sensation, and it takes 15 minutes for that to go away.
Is this like sleep paralysis? I think that's actually a term that people experience where they will wake up and be unable to move.
It's not that though. So if you've ever been sitting in a position for too long and your leg falls asleep and then you walk on it and it's really uncomfortable. Yeah. That's just how your whole body feels. So
it is actually possible if I needed to grab the the glass of water, but it's just going to be really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable.
Yeah, yes, you can move just like you can when your leg falls asleep. It's just kind of weird, doesn't work exactly right, and it's super uncomfortable.
Do I feel any more groggy than typical, like waking up? This is just a physical body thing, but I feel exactly the same. Yeah. I mean, I'm usually groggy, so I just wanted to see if I was more groggy, because it seems like it would play in. If I'm sleepy and my body's not wanting to respond, it'd be very difficult for me to wake up in this situation.
No, only physical, no mental effects because of this. I mean, there could be secondary psychological effects maybe, but none directly attributable to this drawback.
This is 15 minutes. That's every day. What about a nap?
Every day, even when you nap, anytime you wake up from being asleep.
Roughly 15 minutes. If I doze off on the couch, have I
Yeah, that does it,
15 minutes.
So don't do that. Why would any reasonable person nap anyway?
I nap occasionally.
Oh, well, I guess we know.
I mean,
who's reasonable?
This is the pleasure of sleeping. I don't know. It's like escapism and comfort all wrapped into one in a nice, comfortable dreamland. I like it. Actually, I feel bad about naps sometimes, too, because you feel like you are wasting your waking hours, the only thing we're given.
That's right.
No,
I'm an anti-napper.
Yeah, I can tell. And if I could be an anti-napper, I would be. But there's just such, I love them sometimes. I really do. Anyway, the sleeping thing, 15 minutes. That's so long, man. That is so long. Okay. What's the other one?
All right. So the other choice that you have in order to get one of the superpowers is you are especially prone to generating static electricity. So expect to get a shock equivalent, the equivalent to wintertime socks on carpet, touching a doorknob, that kind of shock every time you touch anything metal.
Ooh, every time.
Yes. In the summer, in the winter, all the time. Whenever you touch something metal, you get that.
I mean, that's frequent. That's every time I'm going to my car.
Every time you touch your car door handle.
Or just home door handle, or...
Yeah, you could use a Yoni Egg safely.
Yeah, lucky me. Even like doing this podcasting, or I guess even can the computer shock you? I guess it can.
Yeah, your computer has an aluminum frame. Yeah. Aluminum's, well, yes. I mean, it is a metal, so that is covered.
That's awful, Bennett.
Well, I especially hate that one. That's another, if I were to consider, if I had any more flaws than just being bad at estimating how long it takes for water to evaporate, in the fall and wintertime, I get shocked a lot more than it seems other people do. And I really hate it.
I know you really hate it. I've watched you.
I hate it so much that when I open door handles, I don't touch them with my fingertips. I touch them with like the less sensitive side of my palm, like the side of my wrist that's not as sensitive. I touch the door first with that.
So you awkwardly reach at doors frequently, like you build it into your routine.
I've had people that just they don't know me very well, like going to work or something, and they're walking in behind me, and I touch the door like that, and they look at me funny, and they're like, "Is there something wrong with the handle?" No, I just didn't want to get shocked, and then I quickly shuffle in. And
you don't really explain, just shocks. I hate them.
Oh well, you see, I have a drawback that I have because I picked the superpower.
But don't worry, I can fog up windows. You need a window fogged? I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got lights turn green whenever I approach them, or no traffic due to traffic lights.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not no traffic. It's
due
just
to
that,
traffic lights, so I could still be caught in plenty of traffic. What was the other one?
When the cleaning thing.
Oh,
when
cleaning.
One
swipe
you don't have to
cleaning.
Scrub. One swipe cleaning.
Or when you're sleeping, or the drawbacks are sleeping makes everything, or it takes 15 minutes for your body to wake up. It's this intense, like leg asleep, but your whole body.
Right.
And then this one.
Static electricity.
Yeah, static electricity everywhere. Gosh. My inclination is to say that, yeah, I might take these too. What's interesting is if I still had my superpowers from last week, how many would I keep accumulating? Like,
you don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but would that affect my decisions moving forward? Almost certainly, I think. A person can only handle so many annoying drawbacks before it's just not worth it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's interesting because I thought about the traffic lights in relationship to commutes, and so you could sleep a little bit late or have to wake up a little earlier. It might even out if you.
Well, how long do you spend 15 minutes on a commute at a stoplight?
Well, actually, probably not. So.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're driving a really long way. I mean, at least for me, even lights that seem annoyingly long are, a minute and a half or 2 minutes that I'm sitting
And the
at
longer
the
you're
red.
driving, the more you're on, like if it's a long haul, you're on the highway and there's not a lot of traffic lights.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning and at the end, kind of getting on.
I mean,
off.
if you were running from police or something, it would be really useful.
Yeah, well, I don't plan on doing that anytime soon.
Right. And I guess too, with the rise in popularity of auto driving cars and the future of traffic, automobile traffic kind of up in the air, in a few years it might not be that useful of a superpower.
Yeah, probably.
But also, probably on the same time, we'll have robots doing all the cleaning for us. So.
But the cleaning, man, I think I'm drawn to the cleaning as a neat freak. And as
you sure you don't want to scream to lose weight?
Well, we would have to up the game significantly. It would be like
what if
5.
How many calories would you have to burn in a scream in order to make it worth it?
Well, instead of calorie burning, so could you frame it where if I scream my head off for 10 minutes a day, that's the equivalent of like a good workout?
that's what I'm. That's what I'm
you're
saying.
going for, and maybe it is already. Maybe the 1 calorie, like.
Well, no, 1 calorie. Well, I mean, to get a workout's worth of that, you would have to scream for 500 or 600 seconds. Let's say it's 600 seconds. That's 10 minutes, right? And that's a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably can't even scream at the top of your lungs for 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, I feel like your vocal cords would be
time.
raw after that. So maybe we're underselling the utility in that, especially if you could. I could invest in some sort of pillow that I scream into, a screaming pillow.
Yeah, the Yoni pillow.
I've seen some sort of device
pillow.
A device you put around your mouth so people can warm up singing like in public areas. And it might be good in this case. I don't think I want that though. It's weird though if you just angle it a little bit differently and told me if you scream as loud as you can for 6 minutes every day, you'll have a 6-pack.
I overestimated your ability to do any math.
Yeah, maybe that was it. I get what you're. It's just this calorie counting, I guess, is not what. And your vocal cords respond, right? Like you could build up your vote. Is it true?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you could get better at that.
I don't think It's too much to juggle with that. The cleaning, man. It's the cleaning because I love a clean place and the idea of just swipe and done. I mean, I devote hours a week to cleaning. You're unleashing a lot of free time for me. That's very appealing. So if I were to take one,
really, do you really spend that much every week cleaning?
Well,
I mean, Honestly, if you clean so often, isn't it often one swipe and it's
Well,
clean
yeah, I
anyway?
clean as I go, and it is a lot like that. But I am perpetually not quite pleased with how clean my place is. Like it's that high standards and perfection discussion we were having. Is that most people would come in and say, "Yeah, your place is clean," but like, go look closely at my sink around the knobs. There's going to be little shave hairs, which drives me crazy. But honestly, very difficult to get up, and I do that sort of hardcore cleaning where you take all the things off of your off of everything. You take everything out of the bathroom and then really clean. I do that like once every 3 months.
Do you have a mop?
Or so.
Do you own a mop?
I do, yeah. And not a lot of hardwood floor space, so that's yeah. So I actually I recently just bought some gloves that have like basically cleaning. They're meant to imagine like a dishwashing scrub, but just that texture. Those kind of like, gosh, the language I don't have it, but like tentacles,
Bristles?
Like bristles. They're tentacles.
Those
I
little
am
cleaning
tired,
tentacles.
Bennett. I am so like in terms of just level of sleep. So these little tentacle cleaners, these bristles, on the hands. So you just put the gloves on and you wash the dishes with your hands. And I might buy another pair if they haven't been delivered yet. But if I like them, I imagine just wiping the counters and even the floor I could do that. But I don't want to mix the things I'm cleaning my plates with like floor scrubbing. But anyway, I invest in cleaning supplies. I take joy in that sort of thing. I guess it's not related, but scents like candles and that sort of thing I just really enjoy. So this idea of going clean is just almost this magic cleaning really appeals to me. I would go clean. I might even I might go clean houses for a living. Imagine, what they can charge.
Yeah, you could.
Because like companies will charge hundreds of dollars to go clean bigger houses, and they have teams of like 5 people go in and spend an hour there. But I could probably cover that ground. One person, me, 30 minutes, big house. So I could get the full cash. I might just quit my day job kind of thing, and take pleasure in it too. Because I like clean like there's also that simplistic pleasure that.
But every time you touch the vacuum cleaner or their doorknobs, you might get electrocuted a little bit.
If I choose that one or the sleep waking thing, I think I'd have to choose. I lean toward the annoying waking up because I could build that into my routine. Whereas the never-ending torture of being shocked is like, that's frustrating.
I mean, it is annoying. It is frustrating.
Depends on how bad the zap is too, though. Because I can tolerate the zap, I think, a lot better.
What's the worst static electricity shock you've ever had?
There was this usually shocks they happen and you're kind of like ow and you shake your hand, but it's really already gone. It just feels strange that happened. It's more of the startle. But I've had it bad enough where I've seen it jump maybe half an inch. Or whatever. I've seen it.
That's usually how mine are.
Oh, really?
I can see the arc.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you can see the arc and then it hurts enough that there actually is a lingering tingle and numbness, that sort of distinct electric shock where you're like, whoa, and you just want to tell someone about it and you're just immediately pissed off. Like your mood is shifted to like,
yep, that's how it is for me.
You can't just be like, hey, if someone were to ask you, are you happy? Like, let's say we're having an existential conversation. Hey, Bennett, are you happy? And you're like, yeah, I'm doing pretty. And then pow! Like, you're not going to say, yeah, I'm happy. I just got shot.
God,
like,
I'm not happy. I'm not that happy in my life.
Well,
after that. One time I was, I went to go get a drink out of the water fountain in the wintertime, and the button's plastic on it, and I leaned over and pressed the button, and when my tongue hit the water, it electrocuted me.
The water?
On my tongue from the water. And that
doesn't
was...
like you have bad luck.
I know what electricity tastes like now. It tastes like pain.
I know what electricity tastes like. It tastes like pain. It sounds like a bad emo poem.
Sounds like a badass action movie line.
Yeah, you're right. I was wrong. I tell my kids this. See if you agree.
That reminds me of the best line from the original X-Men movie.
What is that?
Were you a fan of that movie?
I mean, I had it on VHS, if that puts it in perspective. I found it
Yeah.
on VHS recently when we were like cleaning out some stuff. I was like, oh my God, this was on VHS? That's strange. It must have been one of the last things I bought on VHS.
I think I had it on VHS too. It was that really awful part when Storm hits the toad. Was his name, I think?
I think you're right.
And so what happens to a toad when he gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else. And then she strikes him with lightning, and that's the line.
Oh, that's so awful. That is awful.
Yeah, that's...
When you talk about bad jokes like that, I think my go-to worst joke I've ever seen or heard of was actually from a popsicle stick that your sister had.
Oh, I think I remember this.
Do you know what I'm about to tell you?
Yeah, I think so. This is so weird that I remember this random.
What do
bit
you
of
think the beginning of the
trivia.
joke is?
Something about a whale.
Yes, I got it. All right, I'm just going to tell it then. So it sounds
how do you...
Why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why did the whale wear a green hat? This is literally on a kid's popsicle stick that had jokes on it. Why did the whale wear a green hat?
Why?
So it could hide in the grass.
God.
Like unpacking how
man.
truly terrible that joke is. It stuck with me in that moment because I wanted to make sure I memorized the joke properly to not misrepresent it in the future. Because a whale hiding in the grass, like the only and why a hat to disguise it? Like why not any green? Why didn't it say green scarf? Why didn't it say green whatever? And why choose a whale which would never hide in the grass? And this isn't some sort of absurdist humor meant to tickle the fancy of some sophisticated third humor. It really, I mean,
it is, but it's just really misapplied. And that's the only conclusion I can draw is, because it is absurdist humor, and, viewed through that lens, it's, I don't find it that funny, but it is absurd, and it does paint a funny picture in your head.
A whale in a green hat.
Of a big old whale in a yard, wearing a little derby or something.
You have to picture it in cartoon form. Like, I think everyone picturing this is not picturing a real... Were you picturing a real whale? Because I was picturing just total cartoon whale.
No, I'm picturing a real whale, like, in its death throes because it's been out of the water.
Flies.
And it's kind of like... making, like, dying whale noises. Buzzards circling above, and it's like a MAGA hat.
Something out of, like, just an absolute horror scene that would terrify children. That's what this joke was meant to evoke, I'm sure.
On the popsicle stick, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that I agree, it's a terrible joke, because no one eating their popsicle and looking at that stick is going to, like... I mean, it's just not going to land. And you know what? Who knows? Who knows? We certainly had childhood friends who couldn't make heads or tails of normal, comprehensible jokes.
Well, that's the thing that enraged me as a kid is I thought... And when I say kid, we were probably in high school. I thought that the average person would go, that's silly. A whale doesn't, wear green hats or hide in the grass. Like, and I hated the idea that they're not, that the joke is so cheap and strange, but yet it delighted me and I loved it and I have a connection with it to this day. So, yeah. Damn it, you threw me off though. I was saying something about, it was before the worst line about...
Oh, yeah, static electricity, probably.
And then you made the joke about the X-Men line.
Yeah.
What was the line again?
What happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
Yeah, God.
The same thing that happens to everything else. That's a lightning noise.
Sounds like
I'm really on my sound effects this time.
It's giving me all the visuals I need to picture this conversation better. Oh. Wow, that's clean.
Sorry,
that's
I just cleaned something.
I'm over here cleaning.
Don't mind me.
Damn it, there's Bennett cleaning during the podcast again.
I should add that into the superpower. Whenever you clean, it's one swipe clean, but it makes that noise. That would probably just make it better. That'd up it to a 3.
Yeah. Then it's definitely a 3.
So what are your picks? Your final picks are cleaning and waking up, your body tingling in the morning?
Yeah, I'm going to say, cleaning and if I'm being shocked that frequently, yeah, I'm picking the predictable waking up in the morning because I can cope with predictable. If I need to make a long-term investment into something bad, it needs to be something I can predict. And I can predict that. I can
You
work
can
my way
predict the
around
static one because, I mean, you know when you're about to touch something.
I mean, you know
metal.
when you're about to touch something, but I don't think it's fair to ask yourself to be so present-minded and every time you reach out to touch something that you have to evaluate. Like, you're demanding yourself to be so on top of it. That's unfair to your future self, if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah.
Like, consider the material of everything you ever touch from here on out. Like, that's not fair. I mean, we can do it reasonably well, but you're going to be surprised. Things are going to happen enough, and it's just going to be maddening, especially if it's a bad shock. So I think I would just take the uncomfortable. I mean, I'd probably, you just learn to set your alarm 15 minutes earlier than normal and deal with it that way. Maybe have the radio come on and listen to some tunes or some podcasting or
try
whatever.
not to move. Try not to move very much.
Or, I mean, maybe you are trying to move. Like, maybe it can be...
No, it doesn't matter. It's 15 minutes. So.
Oh, it's like kind of like at the second that's over, you're... Okay. Yeah. Well, what if you doze off asleep, I guess you reset that timer.
Yeah, man, don't do that. Don't fall back
Well,
asleep.
it might teach me not to nap and do some better things with my life. So, use time a lot more wisely.
So, you're saying I should move it to the superpower column?
Well, no, I'm just saying I'm trying to look at the positive side of things. So, yeah.
Well, I tend to agree with your choices. I think I would probably. Well, it's tough for me between the stoplights and the cleaning, just because, well, the cleaning is way more efficient, like definitely, but how much time does it really save me?
Well,
I mean, there's nothing that I clean that takes a very long time to clean, or even that much effort to clean.
Well, I'm not typically furious at traffic lights either. I just kind of accept sitting at a traffic light.
I'm not furious. Yeah, I'm not furious about it. And also, in my current circumstances, I don't really drive through that many traffic lights.
I mean, that's what did it for me. When you said to me, like, at first I was all excited thinking, wow, I have this magical new world of no stoplights. That sounds, like, pretty incredible. And then when you pose the realistic question and say, Daniel, like, how many stoplights are you going through on a daily basis? How much is this really impeding your development? It's like, if I'm being honest, like, not really at all. So, I mean,
right.
I maybe sit in traffic lights 20 minutes a week.
Well,
like,
there's that statistic that I didn't look up. I should have looked it up if I had known we were going to be doing this. But there's some statistic I remember hearing, and I probably am remembering it wrong, but that the average American spends, some absurd amount of time, like a year of their life, stopped in traffic or at traffic lights. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I'm actually Googling it and seeing if it gives us a real quick answer. How long you really spend waiting at traffic lights? I've heard, yeah, it doesn't give me like
nothing quick.
An immediate Google
Well, anyway,
answer.
It's who knows how much time. I'm sure it varies widely between people and stuff. But even when I try to crunch the numbers for my own life, which one would save me more time? I still think the cleaning would probably save me more time. It saves me time vacuuming. I hate vacuuming. I don't have to vacuum as thoroughly. One swipe will clean, the bottom of the tub and stuff. Cleaning my car would be I don't even wash my car now because my apartment, I don't have like a hose or anything. It's really kind of annoying.
I might wash my car more often, or my truck more often.
Oh yeah, I would get a spray bottle and a sponge and like just go like and just clean off of that dirt real quick, and my car would be super clean all the time. Yeah, that would be really easy and great. That would save me time. The stoplights, I just don't spend all that much time at stoplights, so. I would probably pick the cleaning. For the drawbacks, this one, if you analyze in terms of how much time do you spend in discomfort, then the static shock is actually the lower amount of time.
Sure,
spent in discomfort.
but it's mood altering for me. Like, I'm not going to wake up. I mean, sure.
I'm not trying to convince you differently. I'm just trying to break it down myself. Because, like, the amount of time that I'm put off by the shock is pretty brief. In the wintertime, this is my reality. And so, I can live with that. It makes my life only a little worse. People ask me if I'm a happy person. I say no because of this, but, I'm still fairly happy.
Oh, that reminded me of what I want to say.
Oh, good.
It was actually about happiness. I say this to my kids, and I'm curious if you'll agree. When I say my kids, I'm a teacher, so I say this frequently, and I do believe it, but I'm curious to what you think. So I tell them that happiness, we could get into the argument of semantics and the meaning of every word, but there's something, if you're talking about happiness, it's an emotion, and emotions can change over time. And so when we ask ourselves, are we happy, or is happiness what we should be seeking? I'm not so sure. And then I imagine them you're walking along and you're super happy, and then you stub your toe really bad. It's difficult to say, oh, I'm happy, because you've been emotionally robbed of that happiness. It's hard to be happy while you're in this pain. However, if you change the question to, are you fulfilled, this sort of deeper meaning,
Right.
We should be pursuing fulfillment, because you can certainly stub your toe and still be like, "Ow, I'm unhappy right at this moment, but I'm certainly fulfilled." And so I try to distinguish between happiness and fulfillment. Now, some kids, they love to argue and explore, and they'll say, "Well, I think you're narrowly defining happiness." And sure, but all I'm trying to do is offer up this notion that happiness can be cheap, and we need to be careful about that, and fulfillment, or whatever word you want to substitute for it. But fulfillment is this higher, we should be pursuing something not in the name of emotion, essentially. And happiness is an emotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, that makes perfect sense, and I completely agree. And I would also argue against your kids, the ones that are arguing semantics, that, just as a person who uses words, you want your words to be specific and narrow, and then you have a variety of words so that you can in a more nuanced way, express what you're trying to express. You don't want one big catch-all word that means lots of really distinct emotions. You want lots of distinct words that, define each of those individual emotions.
Agreed.
So the word happy, you want it to mean something specific, because that's what communication is for. We use a word to represent an idea, and ideally we want that word to be understood by everyone and they know exactly what we mean.
Right.
And so I think the distinction between happiness and fulfillment, or purpose, or meaning, however you want to cash that kind of long-term sense of satisfaction, I think it's really important to distinguish those two.
Agreed, because then
also that brings to mind when I was, before our trip to Japan last year, I was learning Japanese words, and I remember learning the word shiawase, which it meant happy, but then in parentheses it said, like, it was like a long-lasting sense of happiness or satisfaction. So there's a different word for that.
And I think that
it means happy, but in that sort of fulfilled kind of way.
That sounds healthy to distinguish between the two. It's like the word love. We have a problem with it too. We say, I love chili dogs, I love my wife, I love my children. Like, there's something clearly, I don't want to be applying the same word of affection toward a food item I like to enjoy as my partner in life. There's a problem there. So yeah, there's a limitation on the word love. There's a limitation with the word happiness. Except happiness, yeah, we're using happiness to describe everything. Like, oh, that makes me happy. That joke was hilarious. That little video on YouTube was great. Like, I feel happy after seeing it. I'm also happy that I'm pursuing the career I want, and I'm on the trajectory toward, satisfaction. Like, we're too limited with that word, or we use it. The word should be more limited, and we use it as a blanket term all the time. Happy, sad, good, bad. These just sort of general terms to apply to everything, and that's the issue.
Right. No, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And just saying, like, you should pursue happiness is not really that helpful for kids, I don't think. And that's why I want them to start thinking differently about, well, what does fulfillment really mean now that we're understanding it's not an emotionally driven thing? How do I logically start to put together what is fulfillment and then pursue that? I think that's a really great step to take. So I'll pat myself on the teacher back there. I thought you might disagree with me more or push me a little more, but I'm just a genius.
Oh no, yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. With that, I also think while we're on the topic, it can be confusing for kids to distinguish between happiness and meaning. I mean, when we think about it now, it seems to make sense, right? We kind of understand the distinction between happiness and meaning, but when I think back to when I was a kid, I don't know if I would have been able to really distinguish the two clearly. I mean, I don't recall ever having been asked, but like, I think pursue happiness might have been something that I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds good. I wouldn't have thought about it too much because when people say pursue something meaningful, I would have lumped it all into the same category of, do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
But when I think back on like my experiences and like try to think of the times you were happy and really, at least when I think back on the times I was happy, things that linger in my memory, it really isn't happiness that is causing it to stick in my memory. It's the meaningfulness. Like most of the things that come to mind are times that I spent with friends or, events where I was building relationships with people that I really cared about. And so, that doesn't, I mean, yes, I was happy in the moment, but it was also meaningful. And there are plenty of moments, I'm sure, where I was happy, but they weren't meaningful, and consequently, I don't remember them.
That's very interesting that we attach memories to meaning and not, maybe not that emotional whim or
not necessarily happiness.
Yeah, I mean, or you think you could be happy eating a Chick-fil-A sandwich. I'm sure you would agree, right? Like,
oh yeah, every time I eat a Chick-fil-A sandwich, I'm happy, unless they put pickles on.
So as long as your properly crafted Chick-fil-A sandwich is there, it's warm, it's delicious, you're happy eating it. But because you're not,
forming a relationship
yeah.
with the sandwich.
Well, it's not new to you.
Right. But now this will probably help illustrate the point better. And when I moved to Wisconsin for a year and there were no Chick-fil-A's around, then I actually made a couple of pilgrimages to the nearest Chick-fil-A, which was over a 2-hour drive away from where I was in Wisconsin. And that was a little bit more meaningful than just happy when I ate the Chick-fil-A that time.
Well, yeah, you invested. There's a memory attached because that journey was meaningful in some capacity. You were having to declare your devotion toward Chick-fil-A, really overcome some barriers to do so, and that makes total sense to me. And I would imagine, too, do you remember the first time you had Chick-fil-A and really loved it?
No, I don't remember. I mean, I've had it ever since I was a kid, so I remember there used to be a Chick-fil-A near where I lived growing up that it didn't have an interior restaurant. You couldn't go inside and sit and eat. It was a double drive-through, and that's the only Chick-fil-A that we ever went to. And so, the first time they made a Chick-fil-A that you could actually sit inside and eat like a normal fast food restaurant, I thought that was strange.
I guess I'm just...
But I don't remember the first time I had Chick-fil-A.
I can't say I remember the first time I had almost any fast food, now that I'm thinking about it. But I was going to...
Well, that's just... all happened so long ago. I mean, I remember very little from when I was a kid, like specific instances, like I often joke that I can only remember things in the last 7 years.
Right. It's been far more than 7 years. But I was going to make a hypothesis that you would remember the first ones because they were meaningful, whereas the subsequent ones are less meaningful, so you forget. But you're just as happy having them, but they're not as meaningful.
Well, I think the reason for that is because I was a kid. I have no concept of meaning, as a young kid. Like, how do you know what's meaning? How can you actually distinguish between meaningfulness and happiness? Because you don't know what's long-lastingly important when you're a
Plus,
kid.
when you're so little,
I mean, you're
everything's
bombarded
meaningful.
with so many new
It's
experiences.
all new experiences, so they're all potentially meaningful or not. So you
Right.
just like don't have this sort of long-term memory, probably in your own best interest, or you'd be going crazy too many times. Like if you were super reflective and deep, and you had this many new experiences, it would be overwhelming. Like you can't be a deep 2-year-old. You shouldn't be a deep 2-year-old. That would be difficult.
Well, when do you think that you start developing that sense for meaning? How old do you have to be when you have your first meaningful experience, do you think, in general?
Oh man, I don't know that I fully understand the question. How old do you have to be with your first meaningful experience?
We're saying that when you're a young kid, a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, you don't have the capacity to distinguish between something that makes you happy and something that's meaningful, because everything is new, and you don't have the ability to look down the road far enough to see that this is going to pay dividends in the future. So kind of the thing that gives us a sense of meaning is the idea that it's not instant gratification, it's satisfying our future self, right?
Right.
And a kid can't really do that to the same extent. Well, I should say you develop that ability as you age. And so my question to you was, when do you think that starts happening in a normal person's development? At what age do you think people start to have meaningful experiences because they can recognize that, they're doing something for their future self?
I would think, I'm sure the cognitive developmental sciences have something to say on this. I remember watching in some psychology courses, it was fascinating, these babies doing their out of sight, out of mind. Like when they're at a certain age, you could take a toy in front of them, they'd be watching it, kind of reaching for it, and then take it into their peripheral vision, and then out of it. And as soon as it was out of it, you could see it was like a blank slate. Like they
Right.
Have you seen these videos before? It's pretty fascinating. So once the thing is behind them or out of their vision, or even, that's why peekaboo is actually fascinating, because when you cover your face, they've forgotten you're there, and then the joy all rushes back in when they're super young. It's like, holy crap, there's my parent or loved one or whatever, just this important person.
Playing with perception and reality.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
So it's super, you should watch some videos on it. Just seeing the toy go away. They can literally cover it with a napkin, and then you just see the baby start looking out like they've forgotten all about it, and then you lift it up and they're like, whoa, kind of startled.
Well, I'm sure you've played that same game with a dog and a tennis ball.
Oh yeah, this sort of things happen. So clearly, my guess about when meaningful things happen might be when you can start to, I guess we have to define meaning a little bit clearer, but when you become more empathetic, when you're able to say, other people are experiencing things, and that means when they're experiencing pain and pleasure, and so when memories are not just about yourself, but collaboratively constructing this meaning. And so
that's not where I thought you were going to go with that.
Well, it seems like significantly older, right? That you might be.
So if that's the case, do you think a person raised in relative isolation on an island would take them a lot longer to develop a sense of meaning? If you think meaning is socially constructed.
Well, they're kind of putting words in my mouth there.
No, I'm not. I'm really trying to figure out what you just said.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that like all meaning is socially constructed, but like the idea of it being powerful to the extent because you're realizing, I have relationships, and these relationships mean something to me and to them, and that's going to help solidify my memory in terms of meaning. Like it seems like that would really help. I agree with you there. But I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
but your question.
If that's not just because more of your meaningful interactions have been.
That's
social.
possible. I might be biased. So does the person raised on an island, or not even raised, just developing on an island, like have just as much meaning as someone who is like socially adept and adjusted?
Just a normal kid that we might know, or one of us, for example.
And how does that affect fulfillment, happiness, all of those things.
Well,
I don't know, man. I have no idea. I don't even know what to guess because my bias wants to say no. The kid who's typical, who is well adjusted socially.
Let's stop looking at, or let's stop trying to imagine what the average person might feel in terms of happiness versus meaning, because it's hard for us to imagine what everyone else is like. So let's talk personally. Like, how old were you when you had one of the earliest meaningful experiences you've had? Like, how old were you?
Maybe 3.
God, really? I don't remember anything from when I was 3. Nothing. I might as well. I mean, you could tell me. I just wasn't around when I was 3.
Like, yeah, you, Bennett, the person you are now, was not around when Bennett, the child, was running around and doing things.
No.
Yeah, but it's tough because we are our stories to some degree. So I've heard this story. I've told this story myself. I think I genuinely have some memories around this particular story I'm thinking of. And to what degree did I invent, or did my parents, am I adapting my parents' story? And so dang it, man, I don't know. And that's actually a kind of an eerie thing. Like, am I attaching?
When's the second one that you remember?
Well, I mean, because I remember some of their stories. I know I don't remember, so I very much can just say, yeah, like I don't remember that. But
so your parents are liars.
Well, no, I just don't remember it. Big difference. My second meaningful memory. I don't know.
All right, but you're saying, like, when you were a toddler, basically, you're starting to have meaningful experiences.
Yes, possibly.
Jeez. Well, see, when were my meaningful experiences? See, I would say something like, I wasn't able to distinguish happiness from meaning.
Well, I don't know that I would have understood that. And in fact, I was thinking, there's some 9th graders, when I say that to them, they give me this dumb look, like it's just, they're glazed over and this is so boring. Now, a lot of them look and go, wow, like, I've never thought that thought. And it's hitting them right at the right time, and they're fascinated to ask questions. And some of them are like, this is boring. Meaning versus happiness, or fulfillment versus happiness, what's the difference? Who cares? Why are we always thinking so much? This sort of dismissive, this is so boring.
Why are we thinking so much?
Yeah, no, seriously though,
the anti-intellectual. It's just rebellion against
it is, but imagine actually how boring it would be if you truly can't quite comprehend the difference between happiness and fulfillment, and it just sounds like you're saying stupid things. You're like, what? Who cares? Why are we talking about this?
It's Yoni Egg nonsense.
Yeah, well, yeah, it sounds like nonsense. Yoni Egg nonsense. I know, but it does just sound like they have no interest in it. They might not be where they cognitively can even grasp what I'm saying. So I might as well be saying, like, what's the difference between sad and very sad? And you're like, well, that's not that interesting. One's a little more than the other. I hear the word very. I understand what you're saying. But sad and very sad, they might be thinking happy and fulfillment. Like, those two terms are so synonymous. Like, who cares? They would say, I mean, I don't even know if, well, yeah, but they would say this is just not worth it to me, to explore this thought. Like, this is tedious and silly.
Yeah, your class is not very meaningful.
Well, to those kids not ready to hear it, actually, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I mean, that's right.
The irony, though. Like, I think it's the most meaningful thing in the world to be exploring. If you're not ready to explore it.
Right. I do think it's really important.
I mean,
when I think about, meaningful experiences, I would say probably around, I don't remember any 7th or 8th grade or so. I would say, when we were kids, you and I, we would get together during the summers for a friend's birthday. Mm-hmm. And we would do stupid videos. And I would say some of the earliest ones, probably not that meaningful. at the time, they were just things I was doing. But then ultimately, when we started reflecting on our friendship and the videos themselves and making it sort of a tradition, then it actually started to take on some meaning. And I would say that even to this day, that stuff is still meaningful.
Well, I totally agree that those videos and those memories are so meaningful. I guess I struggle with. Okay, I take that
the meaning of
meaning. I look back at my 3-year-old self in that story, and I've attached meaning that I might not have fully comprehended. I really should just tell the story, but I'm not going to. It's so lame. But
you were 3, so it couldn't have been.
I'll give the Spark Notes version
profound
of it. Is that I had gotten home from the doctor's. And it was a summer day, and I saw a crusty, crocless carcass cooked to the pavement. Right?
Concrete.
Cooked to the concrete pavement. How did I miss that one?
Just
a crusty, crocless carcass cooked to the concrete.
The story is more meaningful to me.
It was a frog baked on the concrete, and I asked my dad to fix it when he got home. Please fix this frog. Obviously, the frog's dead. And he actually kneels next to me, and I recall the feeling it was. Like, why did he kneel, when he knew it was dead? He didn't need to do that. And then he told me the frog's dead. And so I cried, and those tears were complicated, I later realized. Like, you could say, oh, he's just crying because he's a 3-year-old who wanted the frog to come alive. But what if those tears were for my father? And I actually believe that to some degree it was like, whoa, this realization my dad can't do everything. So it was a loss of innocence moment for me, and I wasn't getting
You lost
frog.
Your innocence when you were 3 years old.
Well, that's what it was a moment for me. Or the time he put me on his shoulders to go see Barney, and Barney was being mobbed by tons of kids. So in order for me to get close, my dad was being a good dad.
Wait, in person?
Yeah, like
you saw Barney in person?
I don't know to what extent, because for a while they were doing Power Rangers and Barney at like various car sales, and my parents didn't care. They would go, they just to take me out to do something. They were being sweet parents basically, and like we would go, and sometimes it'd be just lame.
Sweet parents showing you counterfeit Barney.
Basically.
Not the real deal. He didn't really love you and love me.
Well,
he just wanted to sell you
a car.
A car.
I'm not sure the context.
An old van, an old Camry.
I don't know if I've ever told you this story. So we're there. I don't know where it was. I seriously don't. I don't know how.
I have not heard this
legitimate
story,
this was. Okay, so I don't know how old I would have been, but pre-first grade, so kindergarten or something. So he puts me on his shoulder so I can get closer, because these mobs. I'm a quiet and polite kid. I'm not going to make my way through a mob of kids trying to get at Barney. So he just wants to get me close.
How big is this mob?
I don't recall. I just know that my dad just could pick me up, put it on his shoulders, and like walk me closer, and like, and probably even just seeing that I'm being shy, but like probably says something to me like, "Hey, Daniel, you want to get closer?" And and he just puts me on his shoulders and we get closer. So he's making his way around, and he's spinning around and high-fiving kids, whatever, I don't know. And I see the zipper on the back of the costume, the very clear zipper.
So it was a fake Barney.
I just started bawling, crying, and I said, this was truly my reaction. I remember this clearly. I was furious, and I was furious with my dad, and I said, "Dad, you let me see the zipper." I mean, that's actually strangely sophisticated, if you ask me. Like, to me, it suggests I understood on some level that he is not real, but I did not want to know. Like, do not unveil this truth to me.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Allow me to remain ignorant. And I blame you for even getting me to the position in which I can't deny this. I mean, I recall speculating about Barney and being annoyed with my mom's response. I was like, how can he talk? And then I said, maybe, like, how do dinosaurs talk? As if that's the most absurd thing about this not puppet, but just costumed dinosaur person. Like, I assumed he was a real dinosaur. Just how could he talk? And then I speculated that he swallowed a radio. That's what I said. Mom, do you think he swallowed a radio? And then when my mom responded with, which I think is an appropriate adult response, she goes, I don't know. What do you think? You know, just kind of that lame, like, throw it back to the kid. I knew that he wasn't real and all this was just crap. But so I was frustrated with the response because
don't bullshit me,
yes,
Mom.
It was kind of this young kid. I knew I was sophisticated enough to know, I guess. And so there was that component, and then seeing the zipper, and it's like, why can't you as parents just let me be a kid? Which is hilarious because they did everything right, obviously. So those loss of innocence moments, those are significant though, and we all have.
So, but those are all right. So those are significant moments, impactful moments, and emotional moments.
Yes.
But were they meaningful moments?
Well,
like, I mean, if meaning is this lasting happiness, the sense of satisfaction, then is that what we're talking about?
Well, meaning and happiness, or even fulfillment and meaning. Like, meaning can be really bad if it's a meaningful moment that shapes you in a negative way, right? So I don't know, but like, they're moments of growth. But so realizations about the world are meaningful. Do they make you happier, or do they make you more fulfilled?
So we're in that definition space of not talking about the same thing, I think
you're right, because it just seems like these are meaningful moments, right? These moments of growth are meaningful, and I remember them.
Again, it depends on what way you're using the word meaningful. I mean, if we're talking about this, like, again, in the sense of, when I talk about meaning, at least I'm talking about it in the way where you kind of you learn that your actions are benefiting your future self in some way, or what you've just done has kind of added on a building block to who you are, and so those moments that you described, they may do just that, but it seems like they're more emotionally impacting moments. We've all had emotionally impacting moments when we were kids, and when you're embarrassed at something, or when you misbehave and you get caught, something like that. They're meaningful in that they meant something to us, but are they meaningful in the sense of kind of this purpose or fulfillment sort of thing?
Yeah, but I'm arguing that these moments aren't just, these were revelations. These were moments where I can't deny the reality that's in my face anymore.
Well, yeah, sure. And I'm not debating that or at all. I'm just saying that, is that what we're discussing?
When
we talk meaning versus happiness.
Yeah. No. Well, that's why I guess it's not fulfilling. Those moments aren't those moments of fulfillment that I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, that's fine. They're just two different sorts of things that we're talking about.
Well, I guess in order to have fulfilling memories or fulfilling moments, I think you have to understand yourself a bit. Was that fair to say? Mm-hmm. And at 3 or 4 years old, you don't really understand yourself.
Yeah, you don't know anything, and that's kind of why that's why I don't think I remember much from being 3 or 4 years old.
Right, which is totally reasonable, because they took those stories, told them, and by telling,
made them meaningful to them. Well, that story was probably meaningful for your parents. The frog one.
The frog one,
anyway.
and the Barney one, they thought it was more of a funny story to share with couples when they came over and stuff. And so I never, because that was shared so frequently, I never, I was never allowed to forget. Like, it was always a fresh memory.
Barney is
Barney
fake. You never forget
dreams.
that Barney is fake. Yeah. At least the car lot
Barney's fake. I'm waiting.
You can
for
always
real Barney.
have faith that the real Barney is
He's
out there somewhere.
doing his thing somewhere somehow. Yeah.
And I mean, he's probably millions of years old by now, so no reason to think he'll kick the bucket anytime soon.
I don't know how he survived the comet or whatever it was, but God bless him for it. Teaching people to love each other.
That big old comet just whoop. cleaned all the dinosaurs right off the face of the earth.
And that's exactly how it sounded. I think it's a pretty good note to wind down on. I am getting super tired.
All right.
And I thought it was a good discussion.
I thought of a phrase while you were talking about stuff, and I'll never get to use it again ever,
so
except for on this podcast. Don't count your Yoni eggs before they're in your snatch. So.
I love that so much.
On that note, I guess I'll talk to you next time.
All right, next time. Oh, that's a great way to end it. All right, man.
See ya.
See ya.